mentioned that President Bola Tinubu is back to the country, having been to Japan and finally spending a couple of days in Brazil, where the president had, as his handlers have told us, achieved certain milestones on behalf of the country economically and otherwise. Now the presidency says on account of this visit, particularly this last one in Brazil, Nigeria is now in a far better place in terms of international trade and bilateral relations, all right, especially with Japan and then on the other hand with Brazil. We understand now that several MOUs, that's Memoranda of Understanding, have been signed between Nigeria and Brazil. Of course, there's Petrobras in Brazil. There are those who believe that our own Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that's the NNPCL, can now begin to, for want of better words, understudy Brazil's Petrobras to also learn some of the things that have taken them to where they are today. I remember a few months ago, senior lawyer Olisa Bakobad also said that there's so much Nigeria can learn from Saudi Arabia's Aramco in terms of how they run their oil industry and the amount of latitude that they allow IOCs, that is international oil companies, to have within this very critical sector. But again, like we mentioned, the president is back, and I'm sure in the days ahead, we will hear directly from him what some of these achievements have been and how they help Nigeria move from point A to point B. This week again, the National Economic Council, that is the NEC, which is statutorily chaired by the Vice President, has met. A couple of issues of national interests were discussed as always. One of them was polio. Polio has been a concern for Nigeria and indeed Nigerians, but now NEC is telling us that we're doing better given where we were in 2024. But now by August, we're hearing that the cases have dropped significantly, and we're also hearing that the governor of Gombe State, who of course is a member of the NEC, is saying we, however, still have some work to do in a place like Sokoto State, northwest Nigeria. NEC has also taken a look at the blueprint, or if you like, the roadmap for the $1 trillion economy, which the Tinubu presidency says is a matter of priority for it, because we're told by 2030, one of the things this government, this administration wants to achieve is to leave Nigeria, as it were, with a $1 trillion economy. That's a 5-year plan for today. I mean, we have 5 years, give or take, to hit that target. But then, even a man like Wale Edu, Minister of Finance, has told Nigerians that for us to hit that milestone, we've got to do an annual growth of the economy 22%. I mean, given where we are today, you can only imagine that that is a tall order. But what do we know? They say impossible does not exist. So let's believe and repose confidence in the government and see how reforms will help drive this, and policy frameworks, policy implementation will also contribute in this direction. We're taking a break now. When we return, it will be the rest of the program. The last few days, particularly within this week, we're seeing the Academic Staff Union of Universities also come to talk about some sort of warning strike. They're saying that they have issues already laid before the government that have not been resolved. Because those issues have not been addressed, they remind Nigerians, and in particular the government, that there is a need now to seriously take a look at the possibility of downing tools, as it's always called. But the first question is, what are some of these issues? Now, ASU says there is a 2009 agreement between it and the federal government, and this agreement, the union says, is such that it has several provisions, or if you like, clauses, And they say most of these clauses have not been honored. All right, and you know what they say in our local parlance: agreement is agreement. All right, so that agreement is in the public space. That agreement has been here for 60 years, thereabouts, and one will wonder, in the last 60 years, how much of that agreement has the federal government honored? And we understand, quite frankly, that one of our part of the agreements is that the government will make 200 billion naira available on a per annum basis, all right, to the universities to be able to not just run or be sustained, but to raise their game, so to speak, in terms of output, all right, and of course standards. But then one of the other issues in all of this is the welfare, the pay of teaching staff, which has always been a basis for calling industrial action in this country. There are lecturers now, including senior lecturers, professors, and vice chancellors, who are saying that it's a shame that in 2025, according to their own report, that a professor would earn 525,000 naira. Now, walk with me. It takes a lot to, a lot of work needs to be put in to attain the level of being a professor, which means that there's a lot of rigor that goes into achieving that feat within the space of the academia, all right? But they say that the shame is you attain that height, and then what you're paid, or what they call take home, is not enough to take you home. So they're saying there's got to be need to review all of these issues: pay and overall remuneration, of course, welfare of lecturers, to not only incentivize them to bring their best to the table, but to also make them feel honored, because what they're doing is honorable, it's noble, and it is a practice that moves society in the right direction. After all, we all argue and agree that every person, every single person, regardless of the field of your endeavor, was taught by a teacher. And if that's the case, how is it that, ironically, the system doesn't seem to accord teachers the honor that they deserve, the pay that they deserve? And that brings to mind the issue of Imo State's government. Just this week again, it's been an eventful week, by the way. Just this week again, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodinma, has announced a very astronomical increase in the pay of public servants. Minimum wage in that state going forward, we understand very clearly today, it stands at 104,000 naira, all the way from 76,000. All right, so that is something commendable, we understand, even though, yes, those who have spoken to the last 24 hours or so are saying that, hold on a second, it is one thing to make this pronouncement, it is a different kettle of fish altogether, and very importantly, to be able to sustain it, because they are wondering, where would the money come from? Well, that shouldn't give us sleepless nights. The federal government has told us that the subnationals, that is the states, now receive more money in addition to what used to be their monthly allocation, on account of the fact that subsidy payment has long been suspended. We suspended subsidy payment for 2 calendar years and counting. So the question is, what happens to the extra money that the federal government, or that goes from the federal allocation account to the different states across the country? Again, that brings also the issue of accountability, because whether you like it or not, in a country where by default it is the instinct of the average citizen to turn to Abuja, to turn to the federal government every time there's an issue in the system, it is only natural that at this point we begin to ask ourselves, if Imo State's government, if Imo as a state, which we know, the indices are there, is not the richest by whatever measure in Nigeria, can say we're moving our baseline pay, which we call minimum wage, from 76,000 to 104,000. How many more states could have done same even before now, but aren't doing so? Because shamefully, we understand there are still states in this country that are struggling to pay even the approved minimum wage that the federal government and subnationals agreed they will pay going forward. There are those who understand are still paying 33,000 as it had been up until this point. But the thrust of this conversation is to say that there's so much we can do that we are not doing, either for political reasons or simply from a place of selfish tendencies. But in all, the thing is this: Governor Hope Uzodinma has shone the light already. And it is only the expectation of the Nigerian workers and, by extension, citizens in Imo State to now see that the government sustains it all through whatever is left of Governor Uzodinma's second term in office, and the government that comes in will show that same commitment, so we don't come to a point where workers have to take to the streets, picket government agencies, hold up placards, and protest asking for 6 months salary arrears, 1 year salary arrears, and things like that. Finally, subnationals must be seen to be as responsible as the federal government is expected to be, because they say, well, there are those who say that goose for, whatever is good for the goose is good for the gander. But basically what it means is that sauce for goose is sauce for the gander. All right. So if you expect the federal government to do so much, it is only natural that the states governments across the country must be seen to be doing so much as well, because you can't pay what is not commensurate with the economic realities, what does not reflect the economic realities of today. A few days ago, my colleagues and I were talking about the issue of the price of a bag of rice, for instance. Now, if you look at a minimum wage, the one that is flat across board, all right, how does it compare to the price of the bag of rice? Of course, people will argue and say, not everybody eats rice, not everybody buys rice in bags. Of course, not everybody earns the minimum wage. There are those on levels that are higher than, receive more, earn more than the minimum wage. But let's not forget that the minimum wage is the baseline, which means it determines whatever you're paid, even if you are levels 14, 15, or 16, or whatever it is. But in all of this, government must be saying from top to bottom to be serving citizens, and that service must reflect by all means in the quality of life that they live. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the papers for you. Do stay with us. All right, let's begin our review of the papers this morning with the Daily Trust newspaper. Right on the front page of it, the star headline says, "Universities head for strike." Of course. Why Barrow Port is still idle 6 years after commissioning reps panel. What do they have to tell us? You can find out on page 23 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Kwankwaso ACF decry Alaba Rago market demolition. 420,000 Nigerian children at risk of malnutrition this year. And then finally, federal government hikes passport fees second time in 1 year. We understand the 32-page 5-year validity passports now stands at 100,000 naira, while the 64-page 10-year validity passport is for 200,000 naira. However, the Nigerian Immigration Service says the charges for those in diaspora stay unchanged. Okay, read up details for yourself on the Daily Trust newspaper today as we turn to our next port of call now, which is the Nigerian Tribune. Okay, on the Nigerian Tribune, it says first top left corner of the paper, PDP considering Jonathan Obi for 2027 presidency. Bauchi governor confirms. How would they pull that off? It looks like former President Goodluck Jonathan has been a bit politically passive in recent times, even though we don't have any evidence he has left the PDP or extricated himself from partisan politics altogether. Obi, on the other hand, we understand has one leg in the Labour Party and the other in the coalition, which of course is powered by the African Democratic Congress, the ADC. So again, how much of political maneuvering will go into all of these? It looks like something that is far from a walk in the park. What's more, we are under attack, NNPC CEO cries out. With a rider, oil workers back reforms. Who is attacking who? Well, I'm sure you can read that up on page 15 with details there. The Nigerian Tribune today. FG denies signing any agreement with ASU. Two riders describes documents as drafts. Sets up technical team to fine-tune government's proposal. That's page 3. 2027. I'm not contesting any position. El-Rufai on page 4. So what's his role? Is he the kingmaker, or is he one of those who run the show behind the scene? Excess crude accounts now $535,823. NEC orders accelerated reforms on page 15. And then there's a picture story for you on the right on the front page as well. Osun public servants hold solidarity rally for Adeleke. Say he is empathetic to workers. FG targets 1 week passport delivery, vows to end racketeering. We hope that works. There's a lot of systemic issues to be addressed on this front. Editors Guild decries killing of journalists in Gaza. Abuja Kaduna road safe, or Mokri claims as he tours road. Okay, that's great. Well, just read all those details when you look up the Nigerian Tribune today, as we flip things over now to the Nigerian News Direct. That's our next port of call, the Nigerian News Direct. Let's begin with the big headline on the front page of it for you this morning. It says, NEC approves new 2026 to 2030 medium-term national development plan. The headline comes with two riders. Projects accelerated economic growth, improved food security in 2026 as excess crude account shrinks to $535,823. And then above the name mast, how we increased production in OML 17 with 100% indigenous capacity. That's according to Hess Holdings CEO. All right, let's bring it down a little for you. Here it says, right corner of it, Zamfara, Kaduna top in kidnap cases in 1 year, SBM reports. FG hikes fees for obtaining Nigerian passports. We understand this hike is the second in 1 year. Why we chose to endorse Governor Adeleke for re-election, Osun NLC Noge. Well, they already gave us a hint a while ago. They say the man is empathetic to workers. All right. Well, those are your headlines from the Nigerian News Direct today. Make it an amazing day for yourself by picking up a copy and reading up details as well. All right. Let's take things now to our next paper, which is the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard, we move first to the headlines above the nameplates, and that will begin with the one on the left end. That's the top left. Well, there's one above that. It says that Dangote Group Ethiopia signed deal to build $2.5 billion fertilizer plant. Global Television brought you that video story since yesterday. And then next is FG ASU disagree over agreement. We understand there was a meeting yesterday amongst the stakeholders, particularly from the government side of it. We will let you in on the outcome of those deliberations in the course of our broadcast today. All right, what more do we have here? It says, I'm under attack. Some people are plotting to unseat me NNPCL GCEO Ojulari is the one to whom that is credited. The last couple of days, the man has been busy trying to explain to everyone who cares to listen that he is not a politician. All right, is somebody with extensive private sector background experience, and now is in the public space and with the hope of doing a great job with the NNPCL, and then leaving the oil firm in a far better place than he meant it. But now he says there are those whose objective is nothing but to unseat him. All right, we move on. Guild of Editors condemns killing of journalists in Gaza. And then the Star headline, 2027, opposition parties battle INEC over voters' data. Quite a number of riders with that headline, which I'm sure you can read up. However, those details await you on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. 2027, Amechi rules out stepping down, declares interest in ADC presidential ticket. Terrorism, DSS files charges against 9 suspects over Benue Plateau killings. It sounds like a step in the right direction now. Diaspora inflows hit $600 million monthly. That's according to Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Olayemi Cardoso. Court declines to stop Rivers LG poll as police restricts movement. Right? Well, there was one we missed here. It says Oboriwori presents Delta potential to Brazilian investors. That's a picture story on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Let's turn things around and go to the Nation newspaper at this point in time, beginning with the headline just on the top right corner of the Nation newspaper. Tells us Abuja Kaduna route safe, says Omokri after tour. Ebonyi raises minimum wage to 90,000 naira monthly. Well, maybe they are following in the footsteps of another state in the southeast, which is Imo. But then this is part of our conversation on the program today. NEC OK's 4-year medium-term development plan. And there one headline here with a picture of former presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi. It says PDP weighing Obi with 2027 tickets, says Bala. Secondus active again in party. Recall that Secondus had been national chairman of the People's Democratic Party at the time when Nyesom Wike was still governor of Rivers State. We understand that Mr. Wike also played a very pivotal role in ensuring he became the chairman of the party. But today, they don't see eye to eye, politically speaking. But then again, what politicians can't do within the space of politicking almost doesn't exist. All right, 2027 will be a leveler and a decider on many fronts. But let's move ahead with headlines this morning. I'm driving growth with foreign engagements, says Tinubu. Government panel to review post-2009 agreements with ASU. All right. And then what more do we have? Excuse me. Here it says Ojulari, NNPCL lost $500 million monthly to refineries operation. And then the writer says oil giant will adopt private partnership to ensure sustainable profitability. And then lastly, police seal off Edo NLC Secretariat. Why did that happen? Well, page 25 is where you have those details. Oyo Assembly, approval of 300 billion naira loan in order. All right. And then we're due, as always, to read up details on the Nation newspaper today as we move now to our next port of call, which is the Daily Times newspaper. All right. On the Daily Times newspaper, we'll begin with the headline just right above the nameplate with a picture of Bayo Ojulari, who is the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited. Threat to life will not deter my commitment to oil sector reform. Well, that's Ojulari himself there speaking, and that leads us to the Star headline. COAS raises concerns over drug abuse among soldiers in conflict zones. That's the Chief of Army Staff there, raising concerns over drug abuse among soldiers in conflict zones. So how do we check that? Should there be an interagency collaboration between the Army and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency and the NDLEA, so we can cut this to its barest? Well, I think those should be some of the options being looked at now. Here it says, battle for mining sites. Officer gunned down as police civil defense clash in Ebonyi. Voter registration meaningless without electoral judicial reforms. That's former Vice President Atiku Abubakar there talking. Insecurity. G7 states move to curb rising cross-border criminal networks. ADC queries INEC over alleged inflated voters registration figures in Southwest. Now the African Democratic Congress, the ADC, has asked for INEC to submit an audited one-week report of the registration exercise, because the party is saying that it doesn't have confidence in the numbers being announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission. Nigerians to pay more for passports as NIS raises fees to 200,000 naira. Those are headlines from the Daily Times this morning. Please do take a look at the details for yourself. We're going to take a quick break here at this point, everyone, on the review of our national newspapers. When we return, a few more papers to look at for you, and then, of course, we'll be starting with the Guardian newspaper. Let's go to the Guardian newspaper now. Above the nameplate here, what does it say to us? It says Ethiopia to rank second in SSA's urea production, with Dangote's 3 million metric ton fertilizer plant. We understand before now, Ethiopia was spending about $500 million on importing fertilizers on an annual basis, and that became even far more complicated during COVID, and now with the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and a few other factors. But the stakeholders, the Dangote Group, and of course the Ethiopian government believe strongly that this is a very, very revolutionary move in terms of the agricultural space in Ethiopia. A $2.5 billion fertilizer plant being built. They say they are looking at the next 42 months turnaround time. That's just about 3.5 years, and it's just going to be, they believe, pretty much the same story around the Dangote refinery in Lekki, Lagos State, Nigeria. All right, more headlines for you this morning with a picture again of the Group Chief Executive Officer of the NNPCL. It says NNPCL vows to revive refineries, shops for $60 billion to expand capacity. You can't intimidate us, Osun workers tell federal government over withheld LG funds. 2027, I'm not leaving NNPP, but open to discussions, says Kwankwaso. Then the Star headline with the kicker that says, bad for business, surge in unruly fan conduct, a match day violence, plunge NPFL in crisis. FG approves timeline a lifetime salary for retiring senior officers. Tertiary institutions on edge as ASU, SSA, and IP, federal government field heightened strike fears. Nigeria facing malnutrition, 79% food insecure, says federal government. That's quite a high number. 2027, INEC fires back as ADC PDP demand probe of new voters record in Osun. Kidnappers, says kidnappers of Katsina couple daughter demand 600 million naira ransom. That is mind-boggling. Where would that money come from? And then let's not even talk about the trauma these people would have been dealing with the entire time. All right, let's leave it there on the Guardian newspaper now as we move to the Punch newspaper for you. And right here on the front page of the Punch, the big one says, Tariff War, FG intervenes as state's discourse rifts deepens. So a few riders there with the story. NERC, that is the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, summons meeting between states, energy commissioners and discos operators. Tariff reduction can't work, discos. Focus on power sector reforms. That's according to the commissioners themselves. All right. And then above the name mast, top right corner first, it says long-term neglect hindering refineries revamp. That's according to NNPCL. NEC, that's the National Economic Council, unveils roadmap for $1 trillion economy by 2030. FG ASU clash over 2021 agreements. And then what more do we have? About 5 more headlines, but let's see some on the right side of the front page of the Punch newspaper. Motorists laments slow Shagamu Ijebu-Ode road repairs. Awaiting trial inmates feeding gobs 14 billion naira in 8 months. Quite a lot there to be eaten. And then 3 more here are the fruits of the front page of the Punch newspaper. INEC pushes back as opposition rejects Southwest voter figures. How 8,000 naira dispute led to Lagos market killing traders. FGI's 21% GDP boost with e-governance bill. Those details are on page 28 of the Punch newspaper today. They want more. Let's leave it there. Please read up those details from the Punch newspaper as we now flip over to the blueprint. All right, on the front page, let us begin with the top left corner of the Blueprint newspaper. It says here, Governor Nasiru appoints 58-year-old Sanusi Sami new emir of Zuru. And then we have one here, sports, says Bafana coach announces final squad for Super Eagles cracker. Bafana coach announced final squad for Super Eagles cracker. Those details are on page 32. NNPCL under attack. Ojulari tells Pengerson union term up ongoing reforms. And then the Star Story says FG has no signed deal with ASU on 2009 agreement. Alausa says government won't settle for deal not tenable, sustainable. You are wrong, varsity teachers reply. Minister. Late Bashir Chidi convinced me to join NIPR 30 years ago. That's Idris. And then it says tension in Niger as troops kill 50 bandit criminals flee to Zungeru. All right. Then we'll go to the bottom of the paper. It says here, ex-Senate President Saraki's Kingsmen celebrates first SAN National Mosque Imam. Dangote Group, Ethiopia signed agreements to build $2.5 billion fertilizer plants. All right, those are all the headlines we have for you here on the front page of papers this morning. We do encourage you to read up those details for yourself because the headlines are only scratching the surface. However, Global Television does not contribute one way or another or even has editorial latitude over these stories and their publications. They are all published by their respective publishers. All we do is bring you the headlines so you can read up details for yourself and avoid fake news as well as misinformation. We're taking another break now. The rest of the program returns shortly. Another issue we're looking at on the program today is the development on the ground in River State. Before now, there had been the strife as to whether or not local government elections should go on in that state. Of course, we are all very aware of the political tension that has been in River State the last couple of months in particular. Of course, by March this year, which is about 5 months ago, in fact, in the 6th month now, state of emergency has been declared in that state by President Bola Tinubu for an initial 6-month period with a sole administrator put in place. But just this week, court now says that those elections by all means can go on, so which means that the polls will be conducted. But what are the implications of all of this? Because just a couple of days ago, there was the news that Governor Siminalayi Fubara, the suspended governor, was gearing up for resumption. All right, and we know how that he and his estranged godfather or benefactor, Nyesom Wike, who is the minister of the FCT, had their own political fight this entire time. We also want to look at the implications of all of this on the program this morning. Again, in light of the landmark Supreme Court judgment from exactly 1 year ago that actually ceded autonomy to local governments in this country. How is it that it still appears that local councils are strapped to the apron strings of governors in Nigeria? We'll look at those issues for you as well in the course of a global morning today. Now let's take a break so we can join Ogochukwu Mobuno on Social Powers.
Good morning, the Global Morning crew, and good morning to you, my viewers. I am Ogochukwu Mobuno. Today, let's look at what's buzzing on the internet. A Nigerian lady has finally spoken out after a trending courtroom video showed her being sued by a man named Emmanuel, who accused her of breaching a promise after sending her transport fare. Okay. In her side of the story, the lady explained that Emmanuel was someone she only met online and had never seen him in person. According to her, Emmanuel insisted she travel from Asaba to Abuja to meet him despite her refusal. Well, she went further to say, before Emmanuel sent that money to me for transportation, I told him he should come over to my city. Well, I would like us to take a look at this video and listen to her.
This whole thing circulating on the internet. So I'll just cut the whole sub story and just make it very short. Emmanuel sent me money for transportation that he wanted to see me. But Emmanuel is a friend that I met online. I don't really know him. I've never met him in person. So before Emmanuel sent that money to me for transportation, I told him that he should come over to my city. He said no, that he cannot go to visit a woman, blah, 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 that he wants me to come. So he kept telling me that he wants me to come, I told him, me too, I cannot go and visit a man that I don't really know. I've never met before, right? So, I don't know, out of the blue, he just, you know, some of you men, you guys are very stupid and crazy, but let me just keep that part. Out of the blue, this guy just sent me 50,000 naira. Now, he sent me that 50,000 naira with a text message saying that this is your transportation. I want to see you tomorrow. Like, you are doing alpha mail for me with 50,000 naira. Where would 50,000 naira take me to? Mind you, this guy stays in Abuja and me, I stay in Asaba. So, you guys, please, I want to know if I'm crazy because this whole thing does not make any sense to me. The 50,000 naira that he sent, is it for me to use it and do, like, I should do what with it? So, I just ignored him. I didn't reply that message. Then he came the next day when he was expecting me to come. He sent me a message that, why are you not here yet? Can you imagine? So, I didn't reply that message. Before you know, I started getting calls from people, threats from people, his friends. I don't know who he gave my number, and they'll keep threatening me, telling me that, his friend sent me money, blah. So when I kept getting calls from all these people, I then reached out to him, and I told him that, okay, I'm no longer comfortable with what is going on, that he should send me his account number, let me forward the money to him. And he said no, he just flared up, and he said no, started sending me some kind of messages. He was so angry. And he said a lot of things that I would not like to say here, right? So after 2 days, I reached out to him. And I told him that, okay, now that you sent me this money, you don't want to, now that you sent me this money, you know that this money will not be enough. And you don't want to send me your account number, let me refund the money. Then you come. I told him, come to my city. Like, I don't even understand, why are you people making it seem like, are you guys dumb? Don't you guys think? What do you people even want? If you see the one that go, is a problem. If the one that I refuse to go, is a problem. What do you people want? Okay, what if I go there now and that guy harm me? You people will not say, oh, she went to see man, she followed this one, women don't used to stay one place. You guys are dumb. See, I don't even read you people's comments because obviously you people don't have anything meaningful to say. I don't even read you people's comments because you guys don't think. You see this gege, the thing that this gege will do to all of you, because the rubbish people are commenting in that my video, the thing that this gege will do to all of you, you guys don't even see it coming. You don't even see it coming. See, God, I just pity our future men, Nigerian men. I pity the ones that are coming up. It's me, I don't want to say much. I don't want to say much about this whole issue. The only thing that I have to say now is that the whole case has been sorted out. I gave him the 450,000. Obviously, it's nothing to me. It's nothing. That was why I was surprised when he sent me 50,000 naira for transport. People that are saying it's not 30,000 he sent. He sent me 50,000 naira. I'm not going to deny it. Yes, but I already paid him the 450,000. I know that this one now is the new strategy people want to use, and you people want to use and be extorting women, but I mean, we're equal to the task. Do you understand? And to the person that recorded me that day, I know you. I can remember your face. I swear. Even after the court had instructed that nobody should make any video, this thing, hey God, I'm surprised that this thing came out now, because this thing now is not something that is supposed to be all over the internet, because it was meant to be a private case. But you people brought it out. I'll look for the person that made this video. I'll look for the person that posted the video, and I'm going to sue that person to court. I don't care. Since everybody wants to be moving mad, let's all move mad together. Rubbish.
I'm sure you have seen that video, and I must tell you that there's so much to see in that video. She went, when she went on to allege that she eventually refunded him 450,000 naira, not just 50,000 naira being circulated online, A lot of persons said, no, you paid 50,000 naira, not 450,000. But then, who said, okay, I think it's transport fare, to and fro, airplane, the cost of flight is actually very expensive right now. So I think that's what they actually, that's what Emmanuel sent her money for, but then she did not go. This is a warning to all of you who actually collect transport fare from guys and do not meet up with that expectation. They are now dragging people to court. Well, we are going to take comments from social media as regards this topic, and the first comment is coming from Abundant Grace Y_Y, and Abundant Grace says, you didn't defend yourself beyond every reasonable doubt in court, but you came here to defend yourself. Are we the judge? Come on, listen to her. This is just a lady who is trying to, speak. And I tell you, in court, there's a level you have to speak, and then your lawyer will speak for you. Don't just say all of these things when you are standing before the judge. There's a limit you are allowed to speak for. Then your lawyer do the much talking. Well, the second comment is coming from Ifi Kasi, and Ifi says 50,000 naira just appeared in your account. How did he get your account details? This one is not women supporting women. No, just shift one side. Okay, because she said she met him on Facebook, and before she knew, she got 50,000, the alert of 50,000 naira. Come on. It's this time around, I'm going to ask, is your account number on your Facebook bio, on your Facebook profile, is it written there? Do you have your number? I know a lot of persons have numbers there, phone numbers, call numbers, but not account numbers. So I'm sure there's a lot to this story, and I know you want to say something concerning the story, so I'm just going to be leaving you to drop your comments using the social media handle you're seeing on the screen right now and be part of this conversation. It is a sweet one. It's a beautiful conversation, because it might happen to you. Who knows? You might just collect transport fare and not go, and the next thing we are seeing you in court. Well, Global Morning still continues. I am Ogochukwu Mobno. Do stay with us.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Ogochukwu Mobono. Even though I saw your as there, you couldn't hide it, but that's okay. Maybe we'll call it women supporting women, right? But let's get right down to the issues in this lady's commentary, even though I take total exemptions to the name calling and all of the foul language in that video. But it is what it is now, right? First of all, full-blown adults must take responsibility for the choices they make, the decisions they take, and the actions that they also pursue. All right, so the people involved in all of this, the lady herself in the video, the Emmanuel that she mentioned, and the person who recorded the video, they are all full-blown adults, I'm sure. And as such, they are responsible for their actions. That's number one. Number two is, this is pretty much a case of sex being traded. That's what it is. Because it's only common sense that you want to ask, on what basis was money being sent? Was it for you to come do voluntary work for community service? Or what exactly was it? And then this culture of running to the social media for every single thing, even when it was your neglect, when it was you being irresponsible that led to that kind of situation and things like that. Because I'm asking myself now at this point, what exactly are the lessons this lady is learning from a development such as this one? It's very important we figure that out, because there are young ladies who are watching. What are they learning from that? So those who look up to you, those who will catch this video somewhere on the internet, all right, what will stand out for them is very important. All right, and this idea of somebody sending you money, because there's also the legal aspect of it. This idea of somebody sending you money to say, quote and unquote, come, and they eventually don't show up, all right, it is fraud. You can't collect somebody's money promising a certain obligation and then you do not show up, especially when there is supposedly the clear understanding that if XYZ amount of money is sent to you to come over to XYZ location, you're supposed to show up. And where you can't honor that agreement or understanding, there's supposed to also be a, well, courteous explanation, and then where necessary reform is done, but both parties or all the parties involved must be on the same page and be in agreement. That's how it works. And then that brings me to the final element in this, the gay university, as they call it now. We understand it's a big phenomenon across the internet. Just a few days ago, he put up a live session where we saw a screenshot of about 127,000 people. Of course, most of them, if not all of them, men, all right, following that live session that he held. Every time he posts a video, it is astronomical viewership and engagement that you find. They say he's teaching people, he's teaching men in particular, how to handle issues of women, especially as it has to do with relationship from a place of finance. How that young ladies are supposed to be as responsible for themselves financially as young men are expected to be. All right, but for women, however, this is a derailment, because they believe that this Mr. Gege is misleading young people, misleading young men, and they say that if we're not careful, if we do not disrupt this trend, the next generation of men will be in more trouble that we can see right now, and that will also affect not just them, but the women that will come into their lives. But you see, in all of this, we must ask ourselves, what kind of society do we want to have? Because there's also the argument of saying that, look, if you're a young lady, you don't need to depend entirely on a young man who is also trying to find his foot. I mean, maybe in his mid-20s, in his late 20s, he's trying to build. The least you can do for and with him is to build with that man, so that you build together. But you can't now make him a god over your life. You can build as well. Just yesterday I read of something on the internet where somebody was saying that there are thousands of women billionaires in this world. Over 1,000 of them did not marry into wealth, neither did they inherit wealth. It simply means that there are also instances of women who have underestimated themselves, their potential. All right, so this is all a lesson for all of us to be dispassionate, not just sentimental and emotional and biased, to be dispassionate about how life works. I mean, the world has changed radically the last few decades. For those of us who do not realize that, it means we have, as Americans will say, another thing coming. Well, there's another thing coming, and that will be our first discussion on the program this morning. Please do stay with us. Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
The continuous voter registration, the CVRO exercise put together by the Independent National Electoral Commission has been ongoing the last couple of days in Nigeria and continues, all right? So the commission is urging Nigerians, particularly those who have never registered, you lost your card, maybe it has been defaced for whatever reason, and then you probably want to move your card from one part of the country to another. You want to move it to a new polling unit, a new local government. You just want to change the location overall. All right, you have that window to do that now. Now, let's also establish that this is a civic responsibility that we all owe to our dear nation. So please, if you have not done this, let's do that, because without your permanent voter card, which will be issued on account of following through with this process, you won't be able to vote in any election, including in the 2027 general election. We understand there are young people across this country who are now putting in effort to ensure that they also mobilize those around them to go get registered for this. This is not about political parties, politicians, or even those in power today. It's about the kind of country we want to have. However, here's the disturbing element. There are those who have now argued that while it is good to ask people to go out, get their PVCs, and then ultimately be able to vote during elections, the question is, have we been able to drive reforms so radically, so extensively, so effectively that we can say at this point we're able to trust our electoral process? Because as of today, we still have a Nigeria where most electoral outcomes end up as subjects of litigation. So it's common for you to hear politicians say, if you do not like the outcome, if you are not comfortable with the results, please go to court. So that now makes us ask ourselves, at what point will Nigeria come to that phase in our national development, in our democratic evolution, to say that at this point we can have elections that are definitive. Now, what that means is we can now say confidently that elections are decided by voters, because I mean, evidently it is an aberration for you to have a system where it is the court that has to adjudicate, that has to determine who the winner of election is, when it is actually the ballot that should do that. Add to that what many observers have now placed in front of INEC as being the commission's fault. They say that the electronic aspect of our electoral process has not been effective, because they talk about how that the results from polling units most times are at variance with what you eventually find on INEC's BVAS or IREV or whatever it is. That is to add to the fact that there had also been times in this country where we had back and forth as to, yes, there was a server, no, there was no server, and things like that. So what's the point in all of this? Can we not build a system where even when you conduct local government elections, the state's independent electoral commissions can be trusted to do the needful, regardless of who the governor is or what political party is in power at that time? Now, just a few days ago, this country conducted by-elections. Even at that, it was still an issue of whether or not we can trust our electoral process. Of course, there's always going to be instances where those who have lost will cry foul, will cry wolf, where there is none. However, can we have a system that is not only fair, but also credible and equitable in such a way that regardless of the political party you are affiliated with or the personalities involved in the process, we're able to say that we can cast our votes with two eyes closed, knowing that the outcome will reflect the pattern of voting in this country, where money bags do not call the shots, where, well, financial inducement does not determine who gets the ticket within the political parties or who eventually emerges as whether governor, legislator, or even the president. That's the kind of country we should be looking at. So we are not just going to only talk about reforms, we are also going to pursue reforms in such a way that beyond the Electoral Act that was signed into law in 2022 and the guidelines that INEC keeps rolling out, Nigeria can now say that we can trust at least one public institution to help us drive change in terms of our democratic journey as a nation and as a people. Here's another quick break for you. The rest of the program returns shortly. Please do stay with us. your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Monday through Sunday to a wide range of latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
And the president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Incidentally, our first discussion today begins from River State, where there has been so much of political tussle. As of today, we understand that that tussle has essentially been between the suspended governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and his now, well, estranged godfather, political godfather, that is. And of course, Mahuda Bosas has been a factor, Nyesom Wike, Minister of the FCT. However, there's also now been, since the sole administrator came on board, the question of whether or not elections should be conducted for local governments in that state at a point became a subject of litigation. Today, that appears to have been laid to rest, with the court now saying that the local government elections that had been scheduled long ago can now go forward. What exactly does this mean for the people of River State, and what are also the implications for local government administration in not just River State, but across other states in this nation? I'm joined by Toba Owojaye, is a political analyst. He'll help us find some sense in this conversation today. Toba, it's been a raining day across Abuja, but the cold has not stopped you from joining us this morning.
Because I really want to be here. I've been on your programs for over a year, and I really miss being here.
And we are delighted. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's get right to it. You and I had talked about politics in River State a couple of times, but today it appears there's a different strand altogether to these developments in that state. In any case, why did we, in the first instance, have to go back and forth about local government elections?
Rivers is a particular case. I've spoken about this like 3-4 times on your station, and I've said, you see, the person that Wike has become is not easy to beat politically, because he understands the street, he understands the law. I don't think anybody in Nigeria understands political law like Wike. I've said it many places, but people don't believe me. I don't think anybody understands political law like Wike, and he always finds his way to find a point in the law that supports his cause. Looks like him and Fubara are now on the same page, but that trust is not yet back. Fubara followed him to commission a water supply project last weekend in Abuja here. So they are back in touch, but that trust is not there. So I believe this is you will be back next month, but let's conclude these local government elections so that we don't have a discussion again about structures and who owns the structures or not. And Fubara has agreed to that, from what we can see. So the elections will take place. Weakest people will most likely emerge, both in PDP and APC. And the people who have pushed Fubara, like Secondus and others, have all gone quiet. This is why we keep saying it, that, you see, as much as you think you are independent, you are never independent. You are never independent. If you say this person won't control you, my brother, believe me, somebody else is going to control you. And all those people have now left him to dry in this and he's on his own now. So for him, all he needs to do, he wants to just come in and complete his tenure. And I think he may be given his second term if that happens. So it's just a political battle that you would not win on the court or on the street. He should pick up the good things he can do for Rivers people. He still has about 2 years, and if things go well, he can have another 4 years. But it's a tough one. You had a bloody fight. You had your nose blown left and right, and now you are planning to come back as a prodigal son. So you have to be quiet. He has to do his best not to fight this in any way. Allow the elections take place. Let him be back. You cannot win from outside. This is what he should have learned in the last 6 months. All the people shouting for you will keep quiet, and you will be left alone. So I think it's going well. We just need to get over this area. It's not good for democracy. It's not good for the people, in my opinion, but we saw this coming, and I don't see anything that will change it.
All right, I'm going to talk to you about trust shortly, Toba, but let's again push this a bit further, right? How pivotal are these local government elections to Wike's course or to the interests of the suspended governor, Siminalayi Fubara? Because it will appear that for Mr. Wike in particular, this is a sort of break or bend moment in the political history of River State. Talk to our viewers about what this means for him, or for his, well, as you call him, his prodigal God's son.
Okay, so the local government has funds, first of all. The local government has autonomy, second of all. So just in case the governor comes back and doesn't do as expected again, they will still be able to run their work through the local governments, because the local governments are independent. And then come election day, the local government plays a large role in how an election will go. Of course, the governor plays a far bigger role than the local government, but the local governments have control wherever they are. The local governments have resources, and the local governments are closer to the people than the governor at that level. So politically, if this is just another option in case Fubara changes his mind, because once he's brought in, he can't be removed again. The president cannot declare another state of emergency in Rivers again before the end of this tenure. So bringing him back he can also go off again, which is a human being, is a governor, he has the right to. But when you have the local governments, with what you have on the top, federal level, what you have, senators and House of Reps, if the governor doesn't go your way and you have the local government, you can have a good swing. We are seeing the same thing in Osun State, where to battle the governor, the political forces have to now use the courts and withholding local government funds to battle the governor, and it's going to be a tough fight for him. That's how powerful the local government is.
Let's talk about trust for a second, Toba. Wike and Fubara had said a lot of unprintable things to themselves. All right, we saw the amount of, if you like, bad energy that ran between both gentlemen for months on end. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, we saw a video of Mr. Fubara during one of those ceremonies put together as part of burial ceremony for later Dr. Edwin Clark, blessed memory, where he was telling his supporters very unequivocally that, look, my spirit has left the government house in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, and I'm not asking anybody to fight my cause for me. For those of you who think I'm interested in going back there, you need to think again. Of course, there are those who will argue and say those are political statements, but talk to us about how much work will be required to restore the trust that has uprightly been lost between Wike and Fubara.
For me, trust is gone. The only thing that is left now is compliance. And the law of mutually assured destruction. Rivers is a very big state in election, and they would want that vote to sway to the president. The president, of course, has Wike at the top of the pecking order in Rivers State, which is why till today Toye Cole has not been compensated, though he was APC gubernatorial candidate. He has had to be looked. The presidency has to look away from him and just face Wike. But also you can't give Wike 100%. If Fubara comes back on board, a sitting governor is still strong. What the presidency has done is to own both of them, so to speak, to own both Fubara and Wike, and now get both of them in a battle to please him. So with that, I believe both of them will fall in line. Wike is on the top of the pecking list, and Fubara is next. Then every other candidate like Toye Cole and others will just pick the crumbs and falls of that table.
And that takes us to another very important issue. At the point, it was basically President Bola Tinubu trying to wade in by way of intervening so as to reconcile Wike and Fubara. But by the time the president declared that state of emergency, and then the theory that, look, the president, to use your word, now wants to own River State, became very deeply entrenched. That's one issue. I mean, that raises concern a lot, especially in light of 2027. But then again, I want to cycle back to a term that you used a while ago when you talked about how that trust is gone between Wike and Fubara. What now remains, essentially, by your own assessment, is compliance. And now when you talk about compliance, there's the other side of it, which is regulation. How much will Wike need to, quote unquote, regulate Fubara so it doesn't go rogue on him by the time he's reinstated?
Look, if you had a fight with somebody, right, that fight puts something in you. This is why even if you keep 10 dogs in a place, there's going to be an alpha dog. Because they will have had to have a fight, and then one shows dominance and leadership ability. Remember, Rivers is the only state that Tinubu won in the South, and he won it when and then also remember that Wike was able to get Fubara in, who was virtually nobody in the state, get in 3 senators, getting 6 House of Reps, getting a complete House of Assembly. It is political battles, the man wins his battles. There's enough history to show you. He fought with Amechi and Buhari when there was federal might against him. The man is not an easy person to beat. This is the reality most people want to run away from. So Fubara has fought with him and has seen there was no good that came out of it. No single good that came out of it. The elections they did with APP and Ikenga and all the billions that was spent on that is down the drain. That election is being conducted again. So when you see that, and you know that you're already willing to be out, all you're looking for is just to complete your term, have a good name, have a good record. He's also good in projects, he's an accountant. He'll just want to do his bid and know that if at the end of 2 years they see that, okay, it looks like this guy is now on board with us, There are some more governors coming in. I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if Umba moves to APC in a few weeks' time. So Fubara will look at it. Am I better than all these other governors? He will toe the line, and he will have his freedom again to do things he wanted to do. I believe, and I've said on this station, that he was just misled by others. He could have functioned well within the system. There was no need for the fight from day one. It was a fight for godfathers. It was nothing else. And the people who convinced him that there would be better godfathers were not there to fight for him, were not there for him when he lost the battle, and they all disappeared on him. So now he has learned his lessons. He should do the best he can do for the people and for projects for the state. He's a better humanitarian person than Wike. Wike is a structures person, projects person, but he's not a very good person when it comes to care. So that is the aspect Fubara can shine. He can come back to this compliance, but also deliver welfare to the people that they didn't get much of in the 8 years of Wike's tenure, though he delivered excellently on projects. I hope I'm clear.
Yeah, very well. Very well. We can hear you, Toba. Just go ahead.
Yeah, so Wike has done projects. He should look for a few projects to do, but focus on welfare, taking care of the people, getting people promoted, giving that Christmas package he gave last year while they were fighting. That Christmas package should not disappear this year again. Now that they are not fighting, he should ensure that package comes out. Let the people not just get roads and bridges. Let them get care. Let them be able to. They should work out pension for the elderly, better transportation, mass transportation. These are the things. Get people friendly projects. Get people on board, and everybody's good.
Great. Let's talk about what you just made an allusion to now, the fact that for the first time since we returned to democracy, what we now call the Fourth Republic, we are seeing right in our faces, governors moving, sitting governors, serving governors, moving from the PDP to the APC. And you just said that, you have just postulated, you won't be surprised if Governor Peter Mbah of Enugu State also moves in the next couple of weeks. And if that should happen, for example, who knows? There is a chance that a gentleman like Siminalayi Fubara is going to ask himself, am I really better by whatever counts than these other gentlemen who have moved to the APC? But there is a point of curiosity in these developments, Toba, which is the question most Nigerians are asking. What exactly is the USP, the unique selling proposition that the APC is advancing to these governors that is making them move into the ruling party?
It's very simple. It's very clear. In my opinion, this is my opinion, right? Every time there's a coalition, it is to remove a southern president. You can look back at political history. Every single time there's a coalition, it is to remove a southern president. So, and we even saw where MKO won an election, a southern candidate, and the election was annulled. So there's a regular gang up by the north once a southerner sits on that chair. And I believe this is what Tinubu and his camp are saying out to the southern governors. That enough is enough. It cannot just be that every time a southerner is on the seat, he has not even done 1 year into his tenure and everybody wants to kick him out. This is where he is coming from, and this is what he's telling the governors, in my opinion. And they are saying, okay, we too are planning to be on that seat one day, so let's join hands with you to fight this. And so he's dragging the southern governors so that the southern votes can be. The southerners are not easy to aggregate their votes because they are generally individual thinkers, right? So, but the North largely has one religion and culture, so you can easily aggregate votes in the North to 80%. But that's hard in the South. If you don't get the governors on board, the leaders, the stakeholders on board, you can't aggregate votes. And of course, it doesn't mean Tinubu is not going for northern votes, but the strongest front you need to show is that I'm going to pick 60% of the southern votes. I'm going to pick another 60% of north central votes, and then the core north is going to be careful whether to go against you or for you, because that unity is going to be dangerous for them in the future. So Tinubu is playing a very tough game, but he's a politician, he's a master at it, and they are seeing his moves. You saw yesterday the Niger State governor and senator were sitting on the ground in his parlor at his feet, and the governor said he's going to be the DJ of the campaign. So if the governors are not moving and they are following him this strongly, and the north also, yes, there's a revolt in the north against him, I can assure you of that. As of today, 80% of the core north doesn't want to vote him, but they will have to watch what the governors will be able to pull off a 25%, 30% or 40% for him.
Let's talk about political alignments and realignments. Before now, October, you would hear that states like Delta, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, Bayelsa, Cross River, these are PDP states. But it appears that political phenomenon, as we know it, is dead, isn't it?
It's not dead. PDP is still strong in those states. By now, if not for a strong Tinubu showing on political acumen, those states will have been fully PDP. Even Edo State, in my opinion, was a fight for 2027. If not, Asue would have been there. But what is the guarantee that if an Asue emerges, is going to support Tinubu in 2027? So, which is why, and you saw that Monday, Opebulo said he is the person to kickstart Tinubu's campaign, and Oshumola is there. So this is a careful look into the state by state. Sheriff is and others will be able to pull off a 40%, though it is a PDP state. But these are the things they have been able to present to them. The people who are the leaders of this country need to stop this northern-southern drag. Every single time a southerner is on the seat, the country is no more good. It is this distrust that is leading to all this. But it is being backed legally by the tussle at the top of the parties. This is why I don't think the fights in PDP will end any soon. Without those fights, defections are illegal. So the fights will continue in PDP, the fights will continue in Labour Party, though there's almost nobody to pick off from that party again. And they will keep the PDP fight till every person who needs to defect has a legal ground too. So I think the North needs to sit down and look carefully. Should we go against this? Which is why people like El Rufai are saying, I want to remove Tinubu, but I'm going to bring a southern candidate. Because he knows the narrative already. If he pushes a northern candidate, his political chances are sealed even in 2031 when he's a northern turn. Because if you don't support the swing, when it is not in your direction, when it comes in your direction, you won't get support. This is politics.
The PDP has said time and again in very clear terms that it is not going to join the coalition. One would have thought with this ADC PAD coalition, at least we understand the ADC is being used as a special purpose vehicle of some sort, that the PDP would jump right on it and who knows, maybe even lead this coalition. But now the party says it's not going to join in. Do you think that's counterintuitive?
No, at all, because the first thing we saw ADC and we looked closely at the people there. It was just a gathering of aggrieved old politicians. To be very honest, you can call the names and you would see 95% of them are just old aggrieved politicians. They made a big blunder in that they just gathered only presidential aspirants. The parties did not move with them. Labour did not move. All the other parties did not move. So this was the first flaw they had. And we mentioned it and people didn't believe us. We saw it again in the August 16th by elections. Out of 21 elections that took place, ADC got second in only one single election. In 21 elections, PDP came second in every single election apart from in Kano, where they came third and APC came second. So as of today, PDP is still the biggest opposition party, and ADC has not gotten its acts right. We told them from the first, put some youth, put some new faces to this. It is not always about packing the same old gang. It now shows us that, is this for us or is this for you? Is this you trying to use us to get to the seat, or is this you trying to go to the seat for us? So these are the things, these are the reasons why we look deeply at ADC and we know that these are not our saviors.
Let's go back to where we started from, Toba, which is River State, of course. With all of this going on now, Wike and his political godson trying to mend fences again, and of course making efforts to return to status quo. The question about how effective or otherwise opposition is in River State is something we can no longer pretend about. As it stands today, with the, so to speak, marriage between APC and, well, some PDP members in River State, does this still look like opposition can do more than barking in that state?
To be honest, opposition, as it stands, what you are seeing in Rivers is happening in the whole country, but is more in the south. I don't believe that. In short, APGA 2 days ago has said they will have no presidential candidate, meaning that they are already supporting Tinubu. The governor is fighting for his life. Nobody has won, no other party has won Anambra apart from APGA. PDP struggled to even have a candidate. It was on the last week of primaries that PDP had somebody to pick the form. But we saw big names jostling for APC's form. APC is likely to be the first party to upset APGA. So these are very tough, real political realities. I have friends who are saying the governor is not doing well. I said, but once APC wins your state, you may never get that state back. This is my own opinion, and I'm not against APC or APGA. Once APC takes over that state, it's gone. Once APC takes over Rivers, it's hard to beat them. Remember Tinubu, who is one of the strongest contributors to this, was the only governor in 1999 in his party. The president fought against him, he survived. They created 2 factions in his party. He had to create another party and then won 5 governors. And then from 5 governors, they merged later with CPC and they had 16 governors. And today they have about 25 governors. And I'm telling you, before the election, they would have 28 governors out of 36. And they have Wike in FCT. So how are you going to realistically beat that when you are bringing the same old aggrieved politicians? Elon Musk said something that for a new product to have sway, the new product must be not just a little better than what is on ground, it has to be clearly far better than what is on ground. And the position we are seeing is not clearly or far better than what we have on ground. So people may just look at all of this drama and say, you see what, this man is doing some good things. Now we have direct flights to Brazil, 7 hours. Before it took 23 hours, we had to fly through 3 countries. Now he's giving us direct flights to Brazil. Now our planes are landing in London. Now we are having this. Now we have student loans that are functional. Now we are seeing long-term roads that are concrete, not this asphalt that spurs every 6 years. People may look at it and say, and he's a Muslim ticket, and is the Muslims crying most now? That fear of a Muslim ticket may have just died a natural death for now. So you may not really see so much opposition against Tinubu. This is just my very hard opinion.
So lastly on the show, Toba, is exactly a year since the Supreme Court delivered what many Nigerians have today called the landmark judgment on autonomy for local governments in Nigeria. When you look at Rivers State today, and who knows, maybe a few other states across the Federation, does it look like that judgment has counted or will count for anything?
It will. I think the president will play on it. This is my opinion, and I'm usually right. I think the president will play on it in the next in the next 6 months or 1 year. He's going to force it down the throat, especially if he notices any betrayals from the governors up north or down south. And then the local government, in my opinion, is his second guard. In case the governors decide not to support him, he would work with the local government chairman and ensure they get their monies directly. Sadly, this is how badly politics has damaged our structure, because this is not supposed to have any political connotation. But here we are. The governors still have the local governments as their ATMs, and the president has done a good work to push, even sued to the Supreme Court. This is one of the best things he has done for us, for development. I don't need to be in Abuja. I can be in my local government with my own brain, bring projects directly from London or from anywhere in the world to my local government chairman, and the project will be in my place. It's hard to move a project far from its base if it is tied to a local government. But if it's a federal project, we have seen naval bases set up in Kano, for heaven's sake. That's because it's a national project and it can be dragged that far because there's one person on the top that can do that. But in the local government, you can't do that. The project has to be within that space. So this is something that all Nigerians should push for. I don't think we should be clamoring Tinubu every day and APC and Atiku. Let us push to have the independence of local government chairmen, so that people can focus on projects in their local government and ensure that local governments are functional.
All right. I'd like to say a big thank you to you for these very valuable thoughts that you've shared on the program today. Thank you, Toba Owojaye, political analyst, for coming on Global Morning.
Thank you very much, sir.
All right, this is where we take a break now and move away from the politics in Rivers State. When we return, we'll turn to Imo State, southeast of Nigeria, to look at the new move by the government under the leadership of Governor Hope Uzodinma. Stay with us. All right, since yesterday when the news broke about the announcement of, increase in minimum wage from 76,000 naira to 104,000 naira by Imo State's governor, it has created some sort of buzz with regards to the reactions that we have seen. There are several questions that have been asked, while, of course, commendations have come through for the state government, now under the leadership of Governor Hope Uzodinma. There are those who say, well, this is a step in the right direction, given that it will help expand, or if you like, increase the purchasing power of citizens, especially workers in that state. This morning, we're joined by Sullivan Eheanyi. He's a political commentator. He joins us from Owerri, the capital of Imo State. Sullivan, good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, sir. And the name is Sullivan Eheanyi, not Eheanyi.
Okay, well, pardon me. Maybe I need to take a master class from you after the program.
It's all right. You're welcome.
All right. So let's begin with this issue. Of course, you and I have been in this country long enough to know how that minimum wage has been a very tough discussion in Nigeria. We've seen states that say, well, we can't pay this, we can't pay that. There are states that have been owing several months, and we have seen workers come on the streets from time to time to protest. However, once Governor Uzodinma announced this very astronomical increase in minimum wage, there are people even beyond Imo State who welcomed the development and even commended him. Help our viewers to understand the implication of this development.
Well, first of all, His Excellency Governor Uzodinma has indeed shocked the entire nation, not just the state. He shocked the entire nation because this came at a point where Nigerians needed a succor. It came when Nigerians needed an upliftment because of the increase in the commodities in the markets and the purchasing power of the naira at this point. And His Excellency thought it wise, to make this increase so that civil servants in the state can, of course, smile home. And, sometime in July 2024 last year, when Mr. President signed the bill from 30,000 to 70,000 naira, a lot of governors were not comfortable with that. And while even some governors were even paying 80, 85, I think states like Lagos paid more than the stipulated amount signed by the president. And here we are a few days ago, His Excellency the Governor thought it wise in his wisdom that there is need for him to increase the minimum wage in the state to 104,000. For me, that's a welcome development. And the governor has proven that he had the strong political will, even though a lot of persons are beginning to feel there's a political undertone to this whole arrangement. But I keep telling people, yesterday I was having some discussion with some person. I told them, no, the governor's idea on increasing the minimum wage has no political undertone. Why? Because the governor is already on his second term in office. And in 2027, he's not running for the office of the governor again. So you can't tell me this is the reason why, at this point he has decided to increase the minimum wage from 70,000 to, 104,000. But I think the governor at this point have seen the suffering in the country, even though it's a temporal, period. But in order to cushion the effect on his citizen, he has also, of course, decided to make that increment. Maybe you're not even aware that the governor even approved 16 billion naira, for immediate clearance of all outstanding gratuities owned as in the state. So that is also a good one to show that the governor has, as he is, he understands the plight of the people. So you can imagine when the civil service servants in the state are, expecting this August to receive their 104,000. The pensioners, even as I'm speaking to you today, the payment started today for the pensioners is ongoing. The pensioners are also smiling, to the banks to also receive their arrears owed them all these years. So the governor has done well, if you ask me, and that shows that the governor has what personally I would call leadership ambience. You only take someone with leadership ambience to understand that at this point in time, there is need for this increase. So it's a good one, it's a welcome development. I think the state is happy, the residents, the civil servants in the state are also happy. And Imo State, I don't want to say it's a civil service state, but we have more civil servants here than people in the private sector, And what that has shown is every sector in that state now will change. The purchasing power, just like you mentioned earlier, is going to be affected because positively, because what people were receiving before now, is what cannot even take them home. Even though a lot of persons do believe that 104,000 is not enough, but the governor has set a precedent for other governors to follow. Just like you mentioned, some persons in the state are even outside the state are equally applauding him. So I think the governor has set a standard, and for me, if states like Imo can do it, that means states like Delta, Bayelsa, and of course Rivers should do better, and Akwa Ibom. So I think the governor has really set a higher standard for other governors to follow. And I had yesterday, I don't know how true that information is, that the state governor has also moved his own to 90,000. That is also a good step in the right direction. So Governor Uzodimma, has really shown, leadership precedent to other governors to follow. And take it or leave it, a lot of persons never expected Imo State to be seen in this light, considering the issues of insecurity and what have you that has been going on in the state. But the governor has given a different, approach to some of these things by making sure that something good and something better is happening in Imo State by increasing the salaries of the engine room of the state government, because whether you like it or not, the civil service is the engine room of every administration, and if the civil servants are not happy, that means the government equally will not do well. So if he has increased it, that means it's more like a moral booster for most of the civil servants in the states. And I believe with time they'll do better, and even with time too, they might even be surprised. There might still be increment between now and 2027.
All right, let's talk about, yes, the governor has done something commendable. Like you said, I mean, this is very revolutionary. But how about sustenance? Because we have seen how state governments in this country have lags. I mean, they failed in being able to continually pay salaries as and when due. Do you see any chance that we could get to a point where the state becomes, for want of better words, financially overwhelmed to the point of not being able to keep up with due payments with regards to this increase?
Well, what Governor Uzodimma did is to tell you that this thing is doable even before now. I've always told people that one of the biggest challenges we have in this country are the governors. There's no state in Nigeria that does not have the capacity to do this. But the strong political will has always been the challenge. My own opinion, though. And what the governor has shown you today is that for him to have come to a conclusion of paying 104,000, that means he has studied the state revenue-wise, both from federal allocation and entirely generated revenue. He has studied it over time and said, no, if we go by this, there is every possibility that it could be sustained. Yes, I agree with you that one of the challenges we have in this country is governors being able to sustain what previous administrations have put in place. That has been our problem. But I think for the governor to have come up with this idea, that means he must have studied ahead what will become of the state if this thing is sustained. And whoever that is going to take over from him come 2027 or 2028, because we are running an off-season election in Imo State, so whoever that is going to take over from him in 2028, will the person be able to sustain this? The answer is yes. If the answer is yes, then let's go ahead and do it. If it's not something sustainable, I don't think His Excellency Governor Hope Uzodimma will want to put that into practice. But let's see how it goes between now and 2028 when he will leave office. That's when we Nigerians now will say, oh, this man just maybe he just woke up from sleep after enjoying a very sumptuous meal at home. He said, okay, let me increase it to 104,000. Let me say, oh, maybe the governor is being flippant. He wants to be able to feel he's doing well. That's why he said, let's increase to 104,000. But we need to give him the benefit of that and understand if this is going to work between now and 2028 when he will leave office. If he sustains it, that means it's sustainable. Whoever is going to take over from him sustains it, that means it's sustainable. But for now, he has said this August, salaries will be paid at 104 minimum wage. Let's watch and see if he pays it, that means it's going to be sustainable. Then it's now left for whoever is going to take over from him in 2028 to know if he or she will be able to sustain it. But I think it's sustainable from our angle, because if state, like I just said, if states like Imo State can pay 104,000, what becomes of states like Akwa Ibom, state like Bayelsa, state like Rivers, state like Edo and Delta and what have you? That means it's doable. But the problem is having the strong political will to put these things into action. And Governor Hope Uzodinma has distinguished himself from these governors that this thing is doable. So I think it's just for us to give him that benefit of that and watch if he's going to sustain it or not before we start bringing the idea if it's sustainable or not sustainable.
You've talked about political will being the missing link here. In fact, you have mentioned that by your own reckoning, the governors are the problem, especially in this regard. Beyond political will, what more should the governors do across the nation to not just follow the lead that has been set by Governor Hope Uzodinma, but to also realize that they owe their people as much as Nigerians always expect the federal government to? Because on the part of the federal government, their argument has been that on account of removing fuel subsidy payments, what goes to states every month has increased very tangibly. How do we hold governors more accountable beyond increasing salaries, for those in public service?
That's correct. You see, to be frank with you, I think the issue of accountability is an individual thing. It has nothing to do with politics. It has nothing to do with whether you're a member of A or B or APC or PDP or whatever. We've seen situations where governors in PDP, for instance, are doing very well, and governors in the ruling party are not doing well. We've seen situations where governors in the ruling party in another state is doing very well, and another governor in the other state is not doing as expected. But for me, the revenue that has been given to state governors from the federal government, it might not be more than enough to sustain this across board. But I think governors should start thinking outside the box. What do I mean by that? You don't just sit down and wait for what comes from the federal government. Start thinking how to manage internal generated revenue. Start also thinking how to create wealth internally. Let me give you a typical example like states like Cross River, where there's an ongoing mining war now. They call it illegal mining war. We will come to realize that certain precious stones or valued minerals are being mined in some of these states. Now, have the state government been able to venture into that angle and harness the potential within the state and increase their revenue? The answer is no. States like Zamfara, for instance, I'm taking a state from the south now, and I'm also taking a state from the north. State from Zamfara, for instance, is another good example in solid minerals. How have they been able to harness the potential in solid mineral sector as their core value now in Zamfara to see a way of increasing the IGR of the state? Some of these governors are not thinking outside the box. Everybody just sit down, fold their hands, and wait for the end of the month. Commissioner for Finance goes to Abuja, signs the money, and comes back, and they start thinking of what to do with it. So governors should start thinking outside the box and finding solutions to solve their IGRs. If they're able to do this, my brother, they will definitely be able to even pay 104,000 that Governor Uzodinma has laid, an example with.
All right, on a final note now, let's talk about, there's going to be a transition. Governor Hope Uzodinma is doing his second and constitutionally last term as a governor in Imo State. Whether the APC retains power in that state or not, there's going to be a different person running the affairs of Imo State after him. How does the person need to match, as we say, the energy of Governor Hope Uzodinma in ensuring that these sort of moves are sustained without people having to say that, the whole thing died with the previous administration?
Yes. It still boils down to what I said initially, strong political will. We say government is a continuum.
Right.
And it seems to be government is a continuum only on papers, not in practice. And that has been the challenge with the country. When you see previous administration start up something, the newer one will come and jettison whatever the previous administration have done in the past and start up a fresh idea entirely. And along the line, the person might not even finish these ideas and he dies with the administration. Another administration comes and starts up a different thing entirely. And we're wasting time, we're wasting resources, we're wasting manpower, we're wasting everything that is wastable. That is the problem with the country. But if whoever that is going to take after Governor Hope Uzodinma has the strong political will, which is people's first, I've always said this, that the beauty of democracy is delivering the dividends of democracy to those that needs it the most. And who are those people that needs it the most? The people in this, the people in the hinterlands. Now let me give you let me tell you one good thing about this increment. A civil servant in the state who goes on with minimum of 104,000 has a family member who survived through him or her in rural areas. Now what that means is that you've increased the person's chances of survival by 104,000. That is what it means. So whoever is going to take over from Governor Hope Uzodinma, considering all these things, putting all this together and saying, no, there is need for us to sustain it. What was this man doing to sustain this? I think there is need for us to follow what he did to sustain this and even improve better. But the challenge we have in the country is when new administrations take over, they jettison whatever the previous administrations have done and start a fresh idea on their own. I will not be surprised the new government might, but God forbid, whoever that is going to take over from him might still come in and say, oh no, this 104,000 is too much on the state. We can no longer pay. That's where you start hearing issues of salaries being owed, wages being owed, and all whatnot. But I think whoever that is going to succeed Governor should be someone who has a strong political will. Someone who believes that government is a continuum, not just on papers, but in practice, and now take off from where the man has left in 2028. So for me, that's the best way to sustain this, because take it or leave it, like I said initially, that there is no state in Nigeria does not have the capacity to do even what Governor Uzodinma has done or even do better. But it's for the governors to have that leadership ambience, to have the strong political will to push this and make sure that the livelihood of people in their states are changed for better. And that is what Governor Uzodinma has done. And for me, I think it's commendable, and every other governor should emulate that.
All right, thank you so very much, Sullivan, for coming on the program. We do appreciate you.
Thank you very much. You're welcome.
All right, that's all we'll leave it, everyone. Thank you for watching. A quick reminder that the views of all our guests on our programs, including Global Morning, are their opinions. And again, the newspapers that we bring to you here are published by their respective publishers. On behalf of our team here at Global Television's world headquarters in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, I'm Muyi Agmofwe. We say thank you for watching and enjoy your weekend.